Welcome back to the ZeroTakes channel. Today, as you can see from the title, we're going to be talking about the Stranger Things Season 5 finale, along with kind of the whole season, as an entirety here. I got a lot to say. I know I'm a little late on this. Um, just got a little busy, but let's just hop right in. First, I would like to ask everyone if you could please like and subscribe this video. It would really help me. I plan on posting a lot more, kind of spreading my content out more, putting a little more variety into it. If you could do that, it'd be greatly appreciated. But my initial thoughts and kind of my overall thoughts on this episode, it's getting, and it has been getting for the past 2 weeks, a lot of hate online. I think a lot of the hate is justified. I think a lot of the hate is not justified. On my Letterboxd, I'll just give you my overall rating for the episode. I gave it a 7 out of 10. I really didn't think it was that bad. There are some parts of this episode that are pretty stinky, but overall, this episode isn't that bad. It's pretty damn good. And I want to give my main takeaway of why I think this is like a 7 out of 10. The ending. We get an hour of closure on all of these characters that we've been following for 10 years. And it's everything, almost everything that everyone could have ever wanted for them. I mean, none of them died. I know I did a lot of speculation on that, but at the end of the day, we don't really want to see these characters die. I know it adds stakes. If this show, especially this season, had better writing, the season definitely would have been a lot better. But at least to get away with not killing any major characters for the most part, it would have been a lot better if the writing was better. Obviously, it's kind of a given. But to get away with something like that, I like to compare when no one dies to a Guardians of the Galaxy 3 kind of thing, where everyone kind of thought those characters would die and no one ended up dying. The writing of that movie was so good to the point where it still felt like like a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 movie without any of the main characters dying. It gave a complete wrap to every character in a satisfying place. And I think the show's writing wasn't strong enough to kind of fully back that, but it wasn't weak enough to where this finale episode is a 3 out of 10, 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10, and is earning all that hate that it's getting. I still think it's a good episode. I think it's a good way to wrap up all of these characters in their, in let's just say in their like own personal stories and own personal character arcs and character growth. I think it's a good way to end all of these characters. I do, however, think it's a pretty lacking way to kind of end the like mythology of the show and like the mystery of this show. As we all know, I mean, if you're watching this and haven't seen it, I mean, you've probably heard about it. It's probably been spoiled by now. Waited 2 weeks. But the final battle in this is like 10 minutes, not even. And it was very fast. And that is a major issue. That should have been way longer. Now, I don't blame this episode entirely on that. I could go, I'm going to go into it a little more. But like, it showed us what we needed to see, but it should have been way longer. It was a very frustrating final. Now, later in this video, I'm going to talk about some of these plot holes that everyone's been talking about and kind of giving you my takes. If they're good plot holes, like, yeah, this deserves the hate, like, what are they thinking here? Or if it's kind of like, okay, we're just kind of nitpicking at this point. I'm going to kind of deliberate in between those and give you my thoughts on how I felt about all of these so-called plot holes or justified plot holes throughout this finale and this whole season of Stranger Things. To step away from the episode a little bit, kind of reflect on the whole season 5 of Stranger Things. Looking back at it now, the first half I think started really well, and like in my video, I think I said that like this, if they keep it up, could be the best episode or best season of the show in its entirety, and I still believe that. where I kind of missed the mark a little bit. I was a little too high on volume 2. I still think there's really good stuff in episodes 5 and 6, but 7 really dropped the ball. Nothing happened in that episode. It really kind of pisses me off thinking back at it now. Um, one of the main things is not one of the main things, but like the thing of most, uh, I guess, the most talked about thing of that episode is Will coming out, and I don't think that scene is as bad as everyone says it is in episode 7, but in this final episode, you really don't see that having any effect. Like I would have understood having that scene and give like you include that scene so that in the finale something happens to where Vecna attacks Will's sexuality and it comes back and it's a moment of importance and everyone's standing by Will. But in the finale, you don't see that, so it's kind of just it feels like almost thrown in there at this point, and it's kind of giving a little more validity to some of the more hateful side of the community, and I didn't really enjoy that much. There's things in volume 2 that just don't carry over or have no relevancy to the finale, and I think that's kind of what brings the finale down so much. If you make what's in volume 2 one 2 hour ish episode, I don't even think it needs to be 2 hours, but you make that one episode, and then you have episodes 6, 7, and 8 to kind of do this whole final story. Like maybe you do all the mind stuff that 11 and 8 are doing. You do that in like episode 6, and or maybe you start with like rescuing Max, and then you form the plan in episode 6. Episode 7, you go into the mind and you know start rescuing the kids. Then you can have so much time to flesh out that final battle, and I think it just makes the season overall much stronger, much more compact. There's not any wasted space like Volume 2 felt like. And it would have made it a lot just more complete and a lot better. I'll spoil now. I am planning on doing a full like show ranking for the seasons, like 1 through 5. This is the worst season just because what kind of came out of Volume 2 and just how inconsistent it really was. Like having truly some of the lowest lows other than the Callie episode in season 2, having the pretty much the lowest lows of any of the seasons, but also like some of the highest highs. I kind of want to get back to talking about some of the good stuff though, because I do think this is like 7 out of 10 episode, and it's still really good. The finales are all great for these characters, like I said. Leaving Mike where he's at, telling stories. Lucas and Max get their, finale. They're going on their dates. They stay in Hawkins. We can only assume they stay together. That's awesome. Dustin goes off to college. Will goes off to college. They're all doing great. The older group, I guess the teen group, who's now the older group in their 20s, are all doing great. Steve's a coach and a teacher. Uh, Jonathan's at college. Nancy drops out, gets a job. Robin's doing her thing. I think that's all great. They all end in a good spot. They're all alive. They're still friends. Can't really ask for much more. And with Joyce and Hopper, they end up getting engaged. It's just a great ending for all these characters. And filled in that episode are great moments like the Hopper and Mike talk. Great moments. And I really don't. I really think people are kind of overlooking some of the strong character storytelling over what they kind of see as plot holes. Which, don't get me wrong, there are plot holes in this, and they are frustrating. But I think some of them are also way too nitpicky to where if it's any other show, these aren't getting really talked about. Or if they are, they're getting passed up as common sense, not micro analyzed like we are kind of doing in the community now. Other good things. The One of my favorite scenes in the whole episode was Vecna kind of attacking Hopper in his mind and like him fake shooting at the glass and thinking he killed 11. I thought that was a really cool scene. There should have been way more to do with Vecna and him kind of going at the characters. Like that's what I wanted him to do to Will. That's where the coming out scene would have, made more sense. maybe he kind of goes after some of the main, like some of our main boys, and they start, actually interacting with this plot other than kind of being filler just to kind of talk to each other. It would have been cool to see that. But I still think that was a really good part. Again, I think the start of the episode a little too long. Another great part is the Henry Creel stuff and the actors, both the kid actor and the adult actor. I think it's Jamie Campbell Bower is his name. I always kind of flip the last names. If it's the other way around, I apologize. But he did such a good job. He'll probably be winning something for that performance. Like him in the cave at the end, or I guess the mine shaft at the end, whatever you want to call it, was so good. And I absolutely loved him not turning good. They kind of bait you with like, oh, Will's talking to him. Maybe he's gonna switch and say, no, I can fight this, but he decides, no, that I am one, we are one, me and the Mind Flayer are one, I am evil. I really like that. I did not want to see Vecna or Mr. What's It or whatever just be any sort of good. It's not a redeemable character, sorry. I don't want to see him be redeemed. I felt like him not switching over, not becoming good was such a good decision. And I can't state like how like it's hard to explain how I felt because I did feel disappointed in the fight. I did feel disappointed with the mythos. We didn't get enough with the mind flayer. We didn't get enough with any of the creatures. We didn't get enough, I think, with Vecna in the last episode. But I also felt so like good, so happy, and so like so many emotions with the characters, and finally seeing them off and them in good places at the end. It felt good. There was a lot of great emotion in this episode that I think is just being overlooked. And then finally to talk about it, the 11 thing. I think she's dead, but I I enjoy. I don't know how great of an idea it is to leave it on a cliffhanger, but I like. I guess I like the fact that hey, it's up to you. You can kind of pick which way you want it to be. If you want to believe 11's out there, no one's stopping you. And I think it's a good call overall. It would have been cool to see a little more backbone, but as we've seen, at least like I'm rating this on the 12th, and the documentary sorry that they're releasing came out today. I haven't watched it. I don't know if I'm going to, but I've seen some pretty bad clips that kind of are hurting this whole plot hole discussion I'm gonna get into. Um, just not great from the Duffers, and I think they are kind of the overall villains of the season because they have really sucked in what they've been saying, what they've been releasing after the show or during the show's coming out, or even before the show. They've been feeding these us and the fans some pretty big piles of shit so far from what I've seen and what I've heard and what I've read, and just not that like that's kind of stemming where most of the issues are coming from. Just to get back to 11, very sad scene. Uh, Great music throughout this whole episode. You get Prince, you get Fleetwood, and they don't usually miss on songs, and they didn't today. But yeah, that's kind of my overall thought. Worst season of the show so far, but still very enjoyable. Very high highs, some high lows, or sorry, some low lows, and definitely memorable. Like we're gonna remember these things coming out for a long time. Definitely sad to see it go. Now I kind of want to talk about some of these plot holes. And I split like some of the most important or most impactful ones I've been seeing from left and right. I don't know how you guys feel, but for me, you're looking at this. I'm doing this on fucking presentation thing because I can't be asked right now. But on the left side here, you have the plot holes that I really don't give a fuck about. And on the right side, I have ones that I can kind of concede and say, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to start by going on the right and kind of feeding into the delusions of the, or not feeding in, but, kind of justifying the delusions and the nitpicking of the Stranger Things fans here because I do agree with these ones. So when Hopper comes back after everything's said and done, Vecna and the Mind Flayer are defeated. He should not be welcomed back and have no questions about it. Like, people should be surprised to see him. Not even after, like, even with some of the main cast, like Max thinks he's dead. The teacher, Mr. Clark, thinks he's dead. There should be some sort of look. Like, there wasn't even a visual cue to kind of show like surprise or anything. Like, it's just kind of accepted that he's there. These people think he's dead. Like, at a certain point, the the plot holes are there with that. There should have been something to kind of indicate, we're surprised to see you, Hopper, but didn't have that. This was a really big one. This next one, Vecna and the Upside Down and the power scaling. So I'll start with the Upside Down. In the first couple seasons, it is this weird, spooky, supernatural place where you need masks, you need hazmat suits. And over the time, we've kind of just, forgotten about that and kind of got away with that or got away from that. And I just hate that. The Upside Down used to be scary, it used to be dangerous. And now it's kind of just this place where you can bring pregnant women inside and it doesn't matter and nothing matters in there. You can breathe the air, you can do whatever you want. It's kind of unfortunate that it kind of went in that direction. I don't love that. Um, the next part, I mean, you can kind of throw like some of the creatures in, like the Demogorgons. Obviously, they go up and down in power all the time. All shows kind of have an issue with that. Like, some things get overpowered here and underpowered there. It's just tough to see that happen so frequently in this. Like, I feel like in the fourth season, Demogorgons were really weak. First season, the one was super strong. This season, they seemed super strong, but then the Demodogs feel really weak, and you don't ever see the bats again. That's a thing that is kind of unfortunate, but you see it in other shows. This one is just really getting picked on because it's the biggest show pretty much of all time at this point. And the last one says knowing Henry Creel. This is more directed toward like Joyce and Hopper. And it goes into one of my main issues with season 5 and season 4 of this show. How do they not remember him? If he's at this high school with them, all these, and even the Wheelers, like, how do you not remember, like, hey, this is happening. We've been talking to our kids about this. We know all this stuff about this. And we're not going to mention that, oh, we know this guy. Like we went to school with him. Weird things were happening before. It's just a really frustrating plot point that they definitely didn't think through. And I don't blame that as much on the finale or on season 5 as I do on season 4, which I'll get into my next video with what I said, ranking the seasons. Now, plot holes that I can forgive a little more that I think people are being a little crazy on. First one is the military. Everyone needs to shut the fuck up about the military. Do you know how many shows and movies involve the military just for things to be covered up? Like, obviously that's what happened in this. There was a cover up. Because how are you going to explain? Yeah, okay, Hopper and Nancy killed a bunch of military people. You're going to go take them to court. Explain what you're doing. You have pregnant women in the Upside Down, which was destroyed. You have all these people going missing. You'll have all these accounts from our characters against what the military is saying. It's just so much easier for the military to just cover up what happened, not speak about it, let things go. You know that they're not gonna, snitch and go to the press. You've had these characters are dealing with this for like 5 years now, I think, technically, maybe more. And they've not snitched, they've not gone to the press. Like, you still have Dr. Owens who can kind of help bridge the gap between the two groups of the military and our characters. Like, it's such just an easy cover up that didn't need to be talked about that everyone just won't shut the fuck up about, and it's so annoying. Like, just understand that this is a huge cover up, and it's kind of just implied, and people should know by now. Like, yeah, maybe you drop a line about it, but I just felt that was so easy to interpret of being implied that this was just covered up and not talked about again. You've seen it even in this show. You know, kids going missing. Oh, it's the what was it? Something with the lab, and can't quite remember. But the first one, there's a huge cover up, like with Barb's death, and then they do the cover up at Starcourt with the fire. Like the government covers up every single last issue that has gone wrong with the Upside Down and the Abyss, just for everyone to get kind of mad about it in this season. I don't get it. And the next one, this one I'm starting to lean a little less toward like being angry about. Everyone's getting so mad about Where Are the Creatures, and when I watched it initially, I wasn't mad about it at all. I didn't even really think about it like while the action was happening. It was more of an afterthought, or like while I was watching, like, oh, the Demogorgons are gonna show up, but then the big mind flayer creature comes, and I kind of forget about it until after. I was like, oh, we didn't see any. And when I watched it, I wasn't mad about it at all because I just kind of assumed, especially after seeing season 3, where the mind flayer infects the rats, and then they kind of turn into goop monsters, and then you get that mini goop monster in season 3, the mini mind flayer goop monster. I kind of just assumed that all the bats and all the demogorgons and all the demodogs just kind of gooped out and turned into the big mind flayer. Like, that thing is huge, and I just assumed that all the material was just from the demogorgons, from the bats, from the dogs. So I didn't have a big issue with it. That was until the Duffers go on and where all these issues are coming from, them in these meetings saying, oh, they said that, they weren't ready for it and it was a surprise attack. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Just shut your mouth. Let people, like, you have to think smarter than that. Like, with what I just said, that's what that's what my head canon is going to be for the rest of the time. Like, I don't care what they say that they weren't ready for it. I'm just going to tell myself, like, hey, these things were just gooped up and part of the big creature. And it just makes so much more sense. The thing was huge. It's so justifiable that, maybe there's 1,000 demogorgons, they all just goop out and turn into it. There's 500 bats or 2,000 bats, doesn't matter. They all just combine into the big demogorgon at the end. Way easier explanation than, oh no, they just weren't looking. So I am a little frustrated with their explanation on it, but I think there's ways where, like, just easily, like, thought of ways where that's not an issue. So I didn't let that bother me too much. Then the last one, everyone's complaining, like, oh, we didn't see anything for Mr. Clark or Murray. We don't need to. They're side characters, and the biggest one is Vicky. Like, Vicky probably has the same amount of screen time in the whole show as Ted Wheeler. Like, we don't need to see what happens to her. We understand that they break up when Robin's talking about it. She's not a main character enough to see, like, oh, if they're gonna break up in 3 years, we don't need to see what she's doing right after the show ends. We don't need to see what she's doing, 3 years down the line when they're graduating. Like, it doesn't matter. We don't need to see that. She's not a big enough character. Everyone needs to give it a rest. Like, you've gotten so many good endings for all these characters. And I just think it's so unjustified to just be angry about every little aspect of this show. Other than that, I kind of hit upon the plot holes that I've been seeing the most. Maybe there's more. If you guys want to leave them down in the comments, I'd love to give you my thoughts on them. Or if you want to rip me a new one for some of these bad takes I'm having in this video, go ahead. It doesn't bother me. One other thing I'd like to say about this, the Upside Down looks like shit in this last episode, and so does the Abyss. That's something I'm going to talk about in the next one, where I'm kind of giving my reasonings for why seasons may be a little lower, a little higher, but just kind of wanted to add that in. But overall, 7 out of 10 episode. I think like a 7 out of 10 season, somewhere in that range. Still think it was good, still liked it. Weakest of the show, but it's hard to land that ship, and I think they did a decent enough job with it. So that's all I got. Again, if you guys don't mind, I'd love to ask if you can like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.